It is a pleasure to present to you my research. My name is Lisa Jackson and I am a computer science graduate student at the University of West Florida, specializing in database systems. I will be presenting to you my research on the correlation between airlines' baggage policies and turnaround times, and how the airline industry can benefit from additional research in this area, and specifically how passengers directly affect airlines' turnaround times and revenue cycle. This presentation serves as an overview of my research paper and includes an introduction to the research topic, the purpose of this research, a history of this topic and why I chose this topic, the research questions to be answered, information about airline baggage policies and strategies and how it affects turnaround times, and finally the results of this research. Airlines are taking a closer look at turnaround times as increased turnaround times and delays in departures and arrivals reduce revenues generated. The chief factors negatively affecting turnaround times are the number and size of luggage a passenger carries on the plane, the pre-boarding process, and on-plane boarding procedure. Each of these processes has an indirect relationship to baggage policies and procedures instituted by the airline companies. This paper will focus on evaluating the correlation between airline baggage and baggage fee policies and procedures on passenger boarding habits and its potential effect on airline turnaround times and impact on the economy. There are many reasons why myself and others feel a need for airlines to overhaul their boarding processes. Travelers are frustrated by the boarding process because the boarding process has been inefficient. While airlines are charging for baggage fees, more travelers are carrying on their overstuffed bags. Together, these lead to late departures and arrivals. Anyone like myself who frequently travels across 2 or more states would highly recommend flying one of the many commercial airlines. On a recent business trip while flying from Tallahassee, Florida to Charlotte, North Carolina, I had a poor travel experience that left me more frustrated and disgusted with the airline I was flying on and the air industry as a whole. To start, I paid the additional fee to check my luggage, but had to carry on my rolling laptop bag filled to capacity with 2 laptops and files. Once the boarding process began at the gate, passengers converged on the gate and the one agent assigned to govern the process. Once on the plane, I waited seat after seat after seat until I could reach my seat, which was near the rear of the plane. I stood in the aisle watching passengers stow more than one over-the-size limit bag after another into the overhead bins. I watched passengers throw their jackets in the overhead bins, wasting valuable space that could have easily been folded and placed under the seat in front of them. Luckily, I had an aisle seat evading any row interference. Aggravated with the time-consuming and congested boarding process, I thought it would be interesting to evaluate the role customer control factors have on the boarding process and how airline policies and procedures have an effect on passenger reactions. Research exists that analyzes various boarding strategies and algorithms, but failed to address factors introduced to the equation by passengers, such as carry-on bags. With baggage issues being a major factor in the boarding process, it would be interesting to see if the airline's policies on baggage played a role in the whole process. My research will examine all the factors and their relationships or influence on the other. The questions that will be answered are: what is the correlation between airlines' baggage policies and turnaround times? Has airline policies and procedures affected the boarding process? Would enforcing or changing existing carry-on baggage policies improve turnaround times? Airline baggage policies vary between airlines, with most now charging fees for first baggage check, second baggage check, and overweight baggage. Spirit and Allegiant Airlines are the only 2 U.S. carriers that are charging for carry-on bags. No other major domestic airlines is following suit. There are baggage policies for checked luggage, carry-on bags, and fees. Policies for luggage include weight restrictions, dimension requirements, number of bags that can be checked and or carried on the plane, when bags are to be checked at the airport, and what can safely be transported within baggage. Data will show that since the implementation of baggage fees in 2005, that more bags are being carried on airplanes, possibly to avoid baggage fees, which is more evident as we review the trend in airlines' financial data. The increased number of carry-on bags has reportedly been proven through research that it causes an increase in turnaround times, making an indirect correlation between baggage policies and turnaround times. Most baggage policies state that passengers can carry on one bag and one personal item. Personal items are defined as a purse, briefcase, or laptop bag. Their checked baggage policy states that passengers must pay for the first and second checked bags when they check in online or at the airport. All bag fees are assessed for each person per each way of travel. There are exceptions to baggage fees allowing these fees to be waived. Most commonly, this exists for airlines' preferred members defined by each airline's rewards program and for active duty military. With checked baggage, it is also important to note that airlines' policy on how far in advance of the departure time that baggage must be checked in at the airport. There are inevitably security reasons, but also there is a potential impact to turnaround times. Ground crew must load cargo and bags in a timely manner before departures and must be afforded enough time to do so. According to AirTrans policy for domestic flights, passengers must check their baggage at least 45 minutes prior to the scheduled departure time. For smaller airports, the policy may be no less than 30 minutes. Since 2005, most major airlines began to charge for checked baggage if more than one bag was checked. Now airlines are charging for the first checked bag. So far in the first 2 quarters of 2012, according to the Department of Transportation, airlines have already collected $1.7 billion in baggage fees. Baggage fees vary amongst airlines, but generally start around $25 for the first bag. Regardless of the amount, the mere fact that airlines began charging for checked bags has had an impact on turnaround times and profitability. Here in Figure 1, baggage fees by airlines from 2007 to 2011. Highlight just five of the major airline carriers that consistently rank within the top earners based on baggage fees from 2007 to 2011. In 2007, fees collected for bags were still relatively low in comparison to more recent years. From 2008 to 2010, there was a spike in revenue generated by airline baggage fees. During this time period, baggage rates had increased and more stringent policies and checked bags were implemented. In 2011, and based on first and second quarters of 2012, there was a decline in baggage revenue. Delta, even though maintained the #1 ranked position for 2011 and 2012, experienced a 9.2% reduction in revenue for baggage fees in 2011 from 2010, while experiencing a 2.3% increase in travelers during that same period. During that same period, #5 ranked United Airlines fees collected dropped 11.8%. Contrary to Delta, United had a drop of 6.7 passengers, which may have resulted in the decrease in fees collected. Research suggests that more passengers are traveling lighter and carrying on more bags, even though airlines carried 730 million passengers in 2011, which is up 1.3% from the previous year. This is a direct result of airlines' baggage policies on baggage fees. Consequently, more bags boarding aircraft further delays passengers' boarding times and ultimately increases aircraft turnaround times. An aviation information technology company reported that in 2008, 1 in 6 passengers checked their bags. In 2009, only 1 in 4 passengers checked their bags. By 2011, the decline in checked bags began. A 37-year veteran baggage handler stated that he noticed a difference in checked baggage volume after the institution of baggage fees. Before baggage fees, he would handle an average of 250 bags, and after, only 150 to 175 bags. It's important to note that Southwest Airlines is a major contender in the flight industry, and they offer free first and second check baggage, and their turnaround times have not suffered. According to Figure 1, they have maintained consistent revenue numbers for baggage fees. Other fees for baggage charged by Southwest Airlines are for 3 or more bags checked in, large media equipment, sporting equipment, and pets. When it comes to baggage strategies, there seems to just be two: charging for bags and not charging for bags. As an example, Southwest Airlines chooses not to charge passengers for checked luggage, whereas most other large and not so large airline carriers have chosen to charge for checked baggage. Charging for bags is relatively new. The first airline started charging a nominal fee in 2005, and by 2008, nearly all airlines were charging fees. This new policy, now widely adopted, was a result of a decline in financial profitability by commercial airlines due to an increase in passenger travels and increase in fuel costs after 9/11. September 11, 2001, while widely known, was the day that the United States faced a terroristic attack at the hands of our very own domestic air carriers by foreigners. To improve financial profitability, airlines resorted to eliminating free meals, free drinks, free checked bags, and other perks that made flying more pleasurable. In contrast to Southwest's strategy, other airlines had a different approach, citing that discouraging customers to not check bags reduced workers' compensation claims due to injuries caused by loading and unloading luggage, and less handling charges, which allowed them to free up restricted cash. Jessica Wheeler, a spokesperson for Allegiant Airlines, one of the two companies now charging for carry-on bags that cannot fit under seats, made a statement that if airlines charge for bags and not carry-on bags, then people are more inclined to travel with carry-on bags. She further stated that this isn't fair to other passengers who follow baggage policy rules, and that it also slows down the boarding process. The result of this reaction is slower turnaround times. Turnaround time is defined as the time required completing an assignment or job. As it pertains to the airline industry, turnaround time is the amount of time required to put an aircraft back in service after a flight has arrived. Turnaround times vary by aircraft size, number of passengers, cargo and baggage load, service time, and other various ground operations. Larger planes, long-haul flights, more passengers, and a hub-and-spoke airline system require more time to prepare a flight for departure than a point-to-point system like what's utilized by Southwest Airlines. The table, turnaround times for 6 aircraft classes based on size, shows the minimum and maximum turnaround times based on 6 aircraft classes ranging from small to large size planes, with the smaller size only requiring a minimum of 10 minutes and the larger plane requiring at least 40 minutes to turn around a flight. Airlines view a successful departure when the passenger reaches his or her destination on time with their luggage, no extra staffing personnel is required, and no additional gate time is needed for the flight to depart. Turnaround times determine the total number of trips an airplane can make in a given time period, also known as an airplane availability. Therefore, it's imperative to operate at the highest efficiency to improve turnaround times. Shaving just 10 minutes off the turnaround times for 2,000 trips would generate a savings of 300 hours that can be used to generate new flights. More flights generate more passengers and revenue. Therefore, it's beneficial for airlines to investigate and understand any correlations between baggage policies and its effect on turnaround times. The Federal Aviation Administration maintains a database of information supplied by 10 to 20 airlines that represents carriers that carry at least 1% of all domestic passengers. The Airline Service Quality Performance System database contains information about airline gate departures and arrivals, reason for flight cancellations, flight delays, and reason for flight delays, all broken down by airport, date span, flights, minutes, and percentages. Causal data is supplied for all flights that arrive 15 or more minutes beyond their scheduled arrival time. Reasons collected for delays or cancellations are grouped into 5 categories: airline, extreme weather, national aviation system, security, and late arriving flight. Increased turnaround times delay departure times that can ultimately delay flight arrivals. The data provided by FAA is available from June 2003 and is updated monthly by Airlines. According to data queried from the ASQP database, fewer flights are departing and arriving each year since 2007. In 2007, 7,277,467 actually departed airports. In 2011, only 5,954,904 flights departed. Since 2009, more and more flights are being canceled either due to security reasons, the national airline system, weather, or by the carrier. The weather accounted for the majority of cancellation with 41.77%, but reasons only known to the carrier were close behind at 40.08%. Reasons why carrier cancellations have increased over the years is outside the scope of this research, but theoretically it can be hypothesized that increased turnaround times decrease the number of flights an airline can make. More statistical data queried in the ASQP report show that gate arrival delays have decreased each year, as well as the number of flights departing each year since 2007. The average delayed minutes per flight in 2007 was 13.62 minutes, whereas in 2011 it was 11.14 minutes. Based on the data, the decrease in minutes is a result of less flights departing and arriving. But from 2009 through 2011, the average gate departure delay has steadily increased from 10.7 to 11.4 minutes. Late arrivals were the major contributing factor that delayed times, as shown in this diagram. The average delay per delayed arrival has been consistently between 53.84 and 56.82 minutes. The FAA does not track and store cargo or baggage information, and airlines do not report more specific reasons for carrier delays, which has made it difficult to further analyze this data and its relationship to airline baggage policies and carry-on bags. One baggage handler stated that on almost every flight, customers attempt to load the flight with more carry-on luggage that can fit in the overhead bins and under the seats. When passengers carry on more bags, it slows down the boarding process and ultimately causes increased turnaround times. The Federal Aviation Administration admits that they do not keep statistics on how many bags are stored in the cargo area of the aircraft or carried onto the plane by passengers, but airlines reporting revenue of baggage fees serves as an indication of how much or how less of bags are being checked. An assumption can be made that less checked bags is an increase in carry-on bags because passenger counts have increased during the same period. Supporting this theory comes from the Department of Transportation's data that of the 17 largest airline companies, there was a 1% decrease in baggage fees earned between 2010 and 2011, despite a 1.3% increase in travelers. There appears to be a correlation between airline baggage policies and turnaround times. Airline policies and procedure has affected the passenger boarding process. A spokesperson for the Florida Aviation Administration made a statement in an email that the administration is aware that passenger behavior has changed since baggage fees were imposed and that they were looking into making changes to their guidance. But this was in 2005 and little has been done to curb baggage fees. No statistics can be found on the number of bags projected to be carried on the plane, but a decline in revenue but an increase in passengers leads the assumption that more passengers are carrying their luggage on the aircraft to avoid the extra fees. Evidence exists proving that there is an indirect correlation between airlines' baggage policies and baggage fees assessed and turnaround times. Airline policies on collecting baggage fees have had a negative impact on turnaround times by creating a more chaotic loading process for passengers. Passengers are scrambling for overhead bin space for oversized and overweight luggage. Therefore, enforcing and/or changing existing baggage policy could improve turnaround times by decreasing passenger loading times. In an interesting article, airlines could get more creative with their policy on baggage fees to still generate revenue but counter the stigma of charging for checked bags by including the price in the fare. In the past, customers only had to compare fares. Now they must compare fares and the baggage fees. If the baggage fees were included, it could alter passenger behavior in a more favorable way. It would encourage them to check bags and carry fewer bags on the plane. Checking bags has another positive effect. Policies state that in order to check bags, you must arrive at least 30 to 45 minutes early. If baggage handlers have enough time to load bags in the cargo area of the plane, it does not interrupt ground operations so that they can operate more efficiently. Carrying fewer bags on board would improve the boarding process, which also would not increase turnaround time. Southwest Airlines marketing to entice passengers to fly with them and to check their bags allows their crew to load and unload flights much faster than their competitors. Loading overhead bins on airplanes by inexperienced loaders increases gate time. If efficiency improves and airlines are able to turn around more flights, less aircraft would need to be in circulation, which reduces operating costs. A goal of airlines is to make more trips with a smaller fleet, which can be accomplished by improving turnaround times. It's advantageous for airlines to explore ways to improve turnaround times and question existing policies and procedures to ensure its viability. This research sought to understand if there is a correlation that exists outside this topic area that can affect turnaround time. Airlines have instituted new fee structures for checked baggage, size and weight limits on baggage, and number of carry-on bags. Have these policies indirectly affected how users plan their flight trips? Could the implementation of these policies cause increased carry-on luggage on the aircraft, which in turn has increased turnaround times? The answer to these questions can lead to further empirical research in the areas of smarter boarding algorithms, efficient pre-boarding, increased revenue, and increased customer satisfaction. Strengthening the knowledge of how borders travel can potentially improve boarding times, decrease turnaround times, and improve customer satisfaction. The impact of not pursuing is ultimately a financial and economical one. Policies and procedures implemented by airlines have changed the flying habits of passengers, which has affected airplane turnaround times. Boarding algorithms defined by researchers were developed to seek improvements to the boarding process. For airlines to control the turnaround time, they must control the process affecting it. In the case of this research, the chief factor negatively affecting turnaround is the number and size of luggage a passenger carries on the plane, which is an indirect effect of airlines now charging for checked bags. If airlines reversed their baggage policies to a time where passengers were able to check one or two bags at no cost, I believe airlines would see a reduction in turnaround times and an increase in financial gain. Instead, airlines such as Spirit and Allegiant are spearheading a new financial prospect by charging for carry-on bags that cannot fit under the seats. History has shown that at the advent of the new baggage fee policy, there were great financial gains for a few years, but since 2011 there has been a decline in baggage fees because travelers are traveling lighter in an attempt to circumvent the fees. From 2007 to 2009, baggage fees collected went from $464 million to around $2 billion. In an effort to begin charging for carry-on bags, Passenger instincts may be to use other priority packaging services such as FedEx or UPS to deliver their personal items to their destinations. Whatever the cause, passengers have shown that they will seek cheaper flights at all costs. After my research, it appears airlines instituting baggage fees is directly related to a goal to change passenger behavior, lessen the number of bags they travel with. The indirect consequence is more and heavier carry-on bags, which causes gate time delays, flight attendant injuries, penalties and fines for late departures, and lost revenue. As a reaction, airlines are now entertaining charging for carry-on bags. One state representative once proposed legislation to limit the size of bags that can be stored in the overhead bins, but airlines already have policies and procedures with specific weight and size restrictions that, if enforced, will either increase checked bags or lessen the number of carry-on bags, which both appear to be goals of the airlines. Thank you. This concludes the overview of my research paper on the correlation between airline baggage policies and turnaround times.